Ha! Okay, those who can do and those who can't teach, I'm going to teach you the right way to do a subject to, because I'm sick of all these YouTube information marketers that are regurgitating the same shit that's wrong. Stay tuned, we're going to take you to the boardroom. Smash that like button, smash that subscribe button.
I'm a hustler, homie. I'm a hustler, homie. I'm a hustler, I'm a hustler. I'm a hustler, I'm a hustler, homie. I'm a hustler,
Welcome to the boardroom. So now, before you smash like and subscribe, we're going to take you through subject to deals. Now, we're going to cover a few things most people don't talk about that aren't exactly textbook from real world experience, and I really hope you enjoy it. If you do and you learn something, please like this video for me, share it, and subscribe. It's my hope we grow together. So we're going to talk about subject to deals, and what a subject to deal is when you purchase a property subject to the mortgage or subject to all the existing liens and or encumbrances. In other words, you are taking title to a property without title being clear. And that's something you can't do when you take out a new mortgage, and we're going to explain why. All right, so you've found your motivated, distressed seller. They're willing to walk away. They're willing to give you the house with the debt in place. And this is what it's going to look like in the actual mechanics. There is a deed, and the deed is going to be in the name of the seller or maybe multiple sellers. And there's going to also be a mortgage encumbering that property in the name of the seller as well. Now, you are not taking over the debt. You actually cannot do that. If you want to know more about why you can't do that, go ahead and read the Federal Depository Act of 1982. That is the year in American history that our federal government made it illegal for banks to write assumable loans. The reason why they did that is because banks actually make more money with all the closing costs and fees and origination charges associated with taking out a new loan than they do by letting somebody take over an old loan. So now residential mortgages, since the Federal Depository Act of 1982, are no longer assumable. Thus, you must, if you want to keep a mortgage outstanding, buy a property subject to its existing debt. And this is the way that the transfer goes down. And a lot of times people can't wrap their head around this, so we're going to really do our best to simplify it and break it down. Many of you watching have bought a property in your name. You have then deeded it into an LLC, which is a limited liability company, or, like I like to tell everybody, ladies love Chuck, which is also true. Now, a lot of times lawyers will do that for you. However, if you do that, you've actually, by taking a property out of somebody else's name or your own and putting it into an LLC, or by taking a property out of a seller's name and putting it into your own name, you have breached the due on sale clause on the mortgage. And if you actually get somebody's mortgage or look at one of your own, there's a tremendous amount of information in there. If you've ever taken out a mortgage, it's like signing a phone book. It's insane. And basically what it says is you have to pay back this money with everything you own until it's completely paid off, or we foreclose on you and take the property back. So it is actually not legal to transfer a property into your name or an LLC's name. However, if you continue to make the payments, in my experience, which is vast, and many times we've even told the bank that we are going to take this property and put it in an LLC, the bank will say, you're going to continue making the payments, right? And they just don't care. If you don't believe me, try paying somebody else's mortgage for them. The bank doesn't care where the check comes from. They just want their money. Now, the actual right way to do a subject to deal would be to transfer the deed from the seller's name into a land trust. Now, in the state of New Jersey where I operate, and many of the surrounding states which are on the English title system, we're talking about the original 13 colonies, my bad. They are based on the laws from the other side of the pond. So the right way to do this, in the English title system at least, I can't tell you what's going on in California, but I'm actually in the process of putting one together right now, so I'll know in a few weeks, all right, is to take the deed and put it into a land trust, nobody gets to know who the beneficiary of a land trust is. You can have a person on record who is the trustee, who's in charge of receiving all the paperwork. However, you do not even have to have that. And this is a whole nother level of protection. The only way anybody can figure out who the beneficiary of a trust is, if you don't want to tell them, is they actually have to go get a court order for you to provide the documents, the trust or the beneficiary documents, showing whoever wants to know who the trustee is. It's also accepted that when somebody passes away, a property can be put into a land trust for estate planning purposes. And if you read the Garn-St. Germain Garn-St. Germain Act, which was later put into place in 1982, it actually just about completely invalidates the Federal Depository Act of 1982 and allows for deeds to be transferred out of a seller's name into a trust for estate planning purposes. Doesn't matter the age of the seller, you can start planning your estate, getting your affairs in order, and getting ready for you to pass at any particular age. Now, again, if you keep making the payments, the bank doesn't give a who the deed is held by. Okay, this has been my experience. I have tried to get into trouble for this. They won't do it. All they want is their payments. And while we're talking about payments, if you are transferring a property subject to the existing debt where the payments are behind and you do not bring them current, you are actually the one in foreclosure. If a lis pendens, a document where there is a lawsuit pending, the initial document that is filed to start the foreclosure process hasn't been filed yet, and you've transferred the deed, you will actually appear on the lis pendens list, and you will start to get foreclosed on in name and name only. It will not affect your credit. It will affect the seller's credit. So if the seller's behind on the mortgage, a lot of times we get in writing, the mortgage is going to continue to be behind until we get favorable terms from the bank or until the property is sold. I wouldn't tell somebody I'm going to make the payments and then default. That is not the right thing to do. And if you can positively cash flow the property, you may want to continue making the payments and rent that property out and slowly pay off that mortgage over time. And this is actually a great way to acquire a ton of rental properties that don't report to your credit, because you can only get something like 7 to 14 mortgages individually anyway, but there is no limit to the amount of subject to deals you can do. Are you going to get title insurance when this property transfers? In most cases, the answer is going to be no. If you would like a title insurance policy, you can explain to a title company what you're doing. It is going to take a lot of explaining because the majority of them will not understand it. And what you need to remember is they need to omit this mortgage from being cleared on title because it is still outstanding in the transfer. Most people are never going to tell you that. I hope you take notes and write that down. In addition, whether you prepare your deed yourself, you have a lawyer do it, or a title company do it, if you're going to put it into your name, your LLC's name, and sometimes the trust's name, you're going to have to figure this one out on your own. The consideration of the sale, which will be on the deed, is actually the principal of the outstanding mortgage. And in the binder we have available below, it's actually all typed out for you so you know the right way to do it. I usually just give that page to the title company or the lawyer I'm using if they're going to fill it out. But the way that it's written out is it will say the consideration on the property in numbers, $200,000, then again in words, on the mortgage in favor of the seller's name to which the grantee is taking title, and it'll have the word subject to. This is actually where the subject to deal comes from. It is wording in the deed. This is not something that some creative real estate investor invented. Other things that you're going to need to be aware of is when the deed transfers, we already know the consideration is the principal outstanding debt. If it goes into your name or an LLC's name, you are going to owe transfer tax. The state of New Jersey, it's about 1%. You can look it up. They want to check. So if it's $200,000, you're going to owe roughly $2,000, give or take. You might as well have that in your budget. If it goes into a trust, sometimes they will consider that a family entity. They may not charge you the transfer tax. Don't make the consideration zero. Make it the outstanding debt. Other things people fail to address with you when you are doing subject to deals is you actually own the property. So think about this for a second. If the house burns down and you own it, even though the mortgage isn't in your name and people die, it's your fault. So before you record the deed, we suggest you do one of two things. The first thing you should do is use your authorization to release that we get all the time, every time when we get a property locked up. Contact the mortgage company, find out who the existing insurance company is. Have them name your entity, be it yourself, your LLC, or your trust, as additionally insured. Many times there is no cost for this. They will still keep the seller's name on the policy for the mortgage, and then they will add the name of your LLC, or add your name personally, or add your trust. If that insurance company will not do that, you need to contact a licensed property insurance broker and take out a new insurance policy before you record the deed, record it, and then cancel the existing one. And if you're making payments, which in many cases you will, because you want to have paid off properties at the end of the day so you can leave a legacy to somebody else, you're going to then contact the mortgage company again with your authorization to release and ask them, as part of the mortgage payment that you're going to continue to make, can you please pay this mortgage company for this new insurance rather than the pre-existing one? All right, this is some incredibly complicated, but I hope I've broken it down in a way that makes it more understandable to you. Again, deed transfers, mortgage stays in place, does not transfer. Doesn't report to your social security number, but if you don't make the payments, that mortgage in somebody else's name is going to foreclose on and take your house. And if that does happen to you, you're going to start getting mailers and texts from all the investors in your neighborhood. Sometimes you're going to do a bad deal. It's okay. Get your ass kicked. Save all their contact information and sell them another deal. Make up for it. Make sure you are insured. Whether you get title insurance or not, make sure the transfer is done properly. If you told the person you're going to make the payments and you got that in writing, make sure you make the payments all the time, every time. If you didn't tell them that you're going to make the payments, get that in writing too. But just remember, if the deed's recorded, you are still liable for anything that happens on that property. Please, please, please make sure you're insured all the time, every time. If you'd like to know more about how to do this, and by the way, I hope you've learned something, and if you have, I asked you at the beginning of the video, would you please click the like button and smash subscribe and share this on your social media too. If you'd like to know more and actually really see the mechanics and the wording, there is a link to a course below. Nobody else is going to give you this shit. It's honestly because I think they're not doing it. My name's Chuck Kohout. I can't wait to meet you in person. Hope you've enjoyed the video. Talk to you soon. Love you all. Bye for now.